The college football train is rolling, folks. Week 5 is here, and this train has been hitting every destination on the way. Last week, Ohio State and Notre Dame gave you a thriller. An absolute thriller came down to a goal line stand, which Notre Dame did with 10 players. We will never know what would have happened if they had 11. We'll never know. But this train rolls on. And this week, it arrives at week 5. And I say this week is about survival. Week 5 is about staying alive. Who can do the best Jamie Lee Curtis impersonation? Who can make it to the sequel? Because that's what it's about here, folks. We all want the blowout wins. But I'm here to tell you this weekend there's going to be some ugly wins. But they're going to be wins nonetheless. And we're going to talk about it. This is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast, and I am him, JIG. Welcome. Week 5. And we're going to start in the Pac-12. Utah and Oregon State. Now, Oregon State needs a bounce back. They're at home this week. Today, actually. Today. That game is in a couple hours. And they need a bounce back win. DJ needs a bounce back. They have to keep this game to where Oregon State can use their two best running backs, Martinez and Fenwick. Both of these guys are good. Very solid. It's a great 1-2 duo. And I think last week when Oregon State played Washington State put everybody on notice. Cameron Ward threw for 400 that game. He throws for 400 a game. He should be on your Heisman board. He should be on your top 5 Heisman board right now. But staying here at Oregon State, DJ, he has to use his feet when he can. And he can't let this game get away from him again. Oregon State cannot afford to lose this game again. Lose this game. Not again, but they can't lose this game. But Utah is coming in with that defense. They're coming in defense with an offense that is very complementary to it. The offense doesn't turn the ball over. It stays on the field. It gets you long possession, long drives, and they usually end in some type of points. So Utah is one of the best teams in the Pac-12, if not the best. 2-time Pac-12 champion. Going for a three-peat. I think that gets overlooked a lot. We don't know about Cam Rising yet. He could play. He could play. But if not, you'll see Nate Johnson and Bryson Barnes, as usual. Both of them can use their feet. Johnson's more athletic, more electric. But Bryson Barnes is not to be overlooked. He's been using his legs lately. So, that's also a good one. But give me Utah on the road on this one tonight. Tonight. Give me Utah on the road. I like Utah. I just think at the end of the day, this defense, Utah's defense, this team in Utah, and what Kyle Whittingham does, he gets guys who go to work. They clock in. They get their job assignment. They get it done. They don't complain. They get the job done. It's a good job, and they go home. They go home to their families, and they never complain. That's called blue collar, and that's what Utah is. Utah is a blue collar team. They're not going to get fancy with you. They can, but they're not going to. They're going to make sure their defense just physically imposes you. They shut you down, and that offense takes care of the ball, and they put up points when they need to. That's basic football right there. No turnover, score, stop the other guy. That's basic football 101. But give me Utah on the road, staying in the Pac-12, USC, Colorado. Now, this game tells me points. This game tells me points. Caleb Williams versus Shedeur Sanders. You got the number 1 pick last year's Heisman winner versus probably the hottest name in college football right now. You look at it respectively. Shedeur Sanders has made a name for himself in his first 4 games. Coming from HBCU, Jackson State, one of the biggest questions was, can he throw against competition? Can he make those passes against competition? And so far he has. Oregon so far is the outlier. But now you go from one bully, and now you go to the bully that bullies him. You go to the kid that puts the kid that bullied you in place. If that makes sense. USC beats up on Oregon most of the time. USC has the national championships out of the Pac-12, not Oregon. That's my point. And USC is not going to overlook Colorado. I think Colorado is a little more focused. I think Colorado comes out a lot focused, a lot more focused than they did against Oregon. Not in the sense of like playing. I'm not saying they weren't playing focused. I'm saying pregame. Maybe less distractions and just playing the game of football. The game's going to be at home, so they're going to have the home crowd backing them up. So I like it. I like it. And USC needs this game, because their next game, they got Arizona. Then after that, they go into Notre Dame. Okay, USC has 4 ranked games coming up. So this might be a good time for USC just to really just let it loose. So I like USC, but I do like Colorado scoring a few points. But give me USC on the road easy. Easy. And to further that, I just think next up we're going LSU Ole Miss. Now this is going to be an interesting matchup because you get the sense in this matchup that both teams can really just kind of set their defenses aside when it comes time. You got two of the more innovative offensive minds in college football, Brian Kelly and Lane Kiffin. So I do expect points in this one as well. Maybe not as much as that USC Colorado, but I'm telling you, LSU just put up 34 points and won a thriller against Arkansas in Sam Pittman's club down there. Ole Miss was just squeezed and kind of humbled against Bama. So, what are they going to do? They got to come out and do something. Another thing is this is SEC West title on the line. Ole Miss can't lose. Ole Miss cannot just lose this game. They just lost to Bama. If Ole Miss loses this game, this effectively takes them out of the SEC West title contention. Effectively. Okay? I think LSU has a lot on the line too because of the sense their loss is to Florida State. So, you lose this game, you still got to play Alabama if you're LSU. So, at this point, it comes down to what's going to happen because, LSU has to play Missouri, Auburn, they play Army, and then they got to go to Bama. So if you drop this game to LSU, you still got to go to Bama. And I don't know if they're letting a 3-loss team in the playoffs. I just don't think they are. Not this year, I don't think any year. I mean, those are 3 quality losses if Ole Miss continues, but at this point, I got to go LSU on this game because LSU I think is going to be more consistent. Ole Miss, man, that's scary what happened last week. I think they'll be able to score a few more points this week versus LSU. I think they'll come out a little more angry, but give me LSU. Staying in the SEC. Auburn and Georgia. Now this is just one of those games where it's the SEC road game. Georgia's going on the road in the SEC, and Georgia really hasn't been too convincing this year. Now, I don't think that Auburn's going to upset them. I don't think, Hugh Freeze has the team at the point that he would like yet. But I can tell you this: I do expect this to be a closer game, maybe the first half. I think maybe Auburn can hold this game because it's in Auburn. So I think Auburn can maybe hold this game a little bit. And effectively make this a closer game than what people think. A home game, and this is the point. The SEC is the SEC. This is why they say top to bottom. It's the best conference because you can't get a day off. So, but give me Georgia on the road. Now, Florida at Kentucky. This is interesting because Kentucky's getting tired of it. Kentucky, wants to beat Florida. Kentucky believes they're the second to third best team in the SEC East. But they're competing with Tennessee. They're competing with Florida. Well, if you believe that, you got to beat this team. And Florida comes into Kentucky. And honestly, it doesn't matter if the game's played in Florida or Kentucky because Florida wins. Florida has their number. And this is SEC title at stake. This is for the race for the East. This is the race to dethrone Georgia. And let me tell you something. Florida has the number 1 toughest schedule in all America. In 2 weeks, they play Georgia, Arkansas, LSU, Missouri, and Florida State. That's tough. That's brutal. So if you're Florida, you listen, you got to get your wins in when you can. And this is a game where you can get your wins in. Easy. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I'm just saying, compared to what you got in 2 weeks, this is a time to get your wins. Because in all reality, they're probably going to drop one or two of these games. Definitely to Georgia, I can see, and maybe Florida State. That's not a conference game, but it hurts your overall record. That's 2 losses to ranked teams this year for Florida. That Utah game did wake this team up. Graham Mertz is a top 5 completion rate in the NCAA right now. So he's not putting the ball on the turf. That run game for Florida is good. So I like Florida in this game. I think they keep it going. I don't see a reason to change now. So give me them rowdy reptiles. Notre Dame and Duke. Now listen. It's time to go back to reality. And what I mean by that is Notre Dame should have won last week. I am a very firm believer in that. And not even just because of the goal line stand and anything like that. For me, it's more of they dominated that second half. They dominated. They really did what they needed to do to put themselves in that position. Now, do I agree with letting your team play with 10 players on the last play of the game? No, I don't. But I'm not Marcus Freeman. Okay? He said that he says he has a logical reason why he did it. So we're going to have to go with it. But what I'm telling you, I just don't know about Duke. This ain't basketball, folks. This is football. I think Notre Dame is going to be too big in their front seven. Their offensive line has 2 top 10 picks. I keep trying to reiterate this. I just think Notre Dame is going to be too big when it comes down to it. They're going to be able to physically impose themselves. They're going to be able to lean on Duke. On defense, they'll be able to keep Riley in the pocket. They're going to make him a passer. We're going to see how good of a passer he is. I think Duke literally is probably going to – I think Duke will probably drop 3 of their next 4. I just don't think that's, not likely. Duke's next 4 is NC State at FSU, and then 2 weeks they go to North Carolina for the old battle at Tobacco Road. Now, I think this game next week, after this game against North Carolina State, is going to be a big one. Just because, this game is going to be physically different for them. Notre Dame is not about to come out and play any games. They're about to come out and physically impose their will. This is a ranked team they get to beat up on. They get to beat up on a ranked team on the road. So this just adds to the resume. The Ohio State loss didn't kill them because they still got to play USC. So they got their opportunities to play ranked opponents. And that's why I like about Notre Dame. They're not out of it. They're not out of it at all. But give me Notre Dame on the road. And that right there, so far, I got Utah tonight. I got USC on the road. Now, this Michigan and Nebraska game is going to be a very interesting matchup tomorrow. Now, this is one of those teams I was talking about need to be on their best Jamie Lee Curtis. They need to survive. Because I'm going to tell you something. If Nebraska's offense can find a way to keep the ball and score some points, and do not turn the ball over. I didn't say limit. I said do not turn the ball over. Nebraska has a chance in this game, folks. What does Michigan do well? They run the ball and ball control. What does Nebraska do extremely well? They have the number 2 ranked defense, rush defense, in all of the NCAA right now. Nebraska has the number 24 ranked total defense in the NCAA right now. My point is, if Nebraska's offense can take pages from Utah, if Nebraska's offense can take pages from Michigan, if Nebraska's offense can just be efficient, Michigan is going to be in trouble. Because I'm sorry, this is the best team Michigan has faced all year. Make no qualms about it. I'm telling you, this Nebraska defense is legit. It's all on the offense at this point. If the offense can put up 17 to 21 points tomorrow, watch out. Watch out. Because at that point, you're going to put pressure on McCarthy, and McCarthy might throw a couple turnovers. I'm not saying Michigan is going to win this game. I mean, Nebraska is going to win this game. But I'm saying watch out for this game because it's going to get ugly. It's going to get muddy and ugly. I personally have Michigan winning the Big Ten this year. I personally also think Michigan has a chance to win a national championship. But this is one of those games that can get muddy for them. In 4 weeks, they go Penn State and Ohio State in 2 of their last 3 games. This is Nebraska's last ranked opponent. So what I'm telling you is this is a tune-up game for Michigan. This is a feel-good game for Nebraska. If Nebraska beats Michigan tomorrow, this is going to push their whole season forward. Suddenly you start forgetting that they lost to Minnesota and Colorado. You know, they're 3-2 with the win versus Michigan. This is all hypothetical here, folks. More than likely, Michigan wins this game. I have Michigan winning this game. But I'm saying this game is going to get muddy. It's going to get muddy. And that's just because of you look at how this game shapes out. Michigan likes to run the ball, and the one thing Nebraska does well is stop the run. So that's just a recipe for a low, sluggish game. Now, this Cincinnati and BYU game, I think this is going to be a thriller. I think this has a chance to be a game that comes down to the last possession. Let's go to the Big 12. I like the Big 12, you know. I think the Big 12 is one of those conferences that can't break up because the Big 12 gives you something that you don't get from all these other conferences, and that's constant offense. Constant offense. You get a high rate of offense. It's beautiful. It's beautiful down there in the Big 12. You know, I heard a lot of Pac-12 fans were calling the Big 12 truck stop league. That's interesting. Welcome, I say. Welcome to you. Week 5, welcome. But this Cincinnati BYU game, I think is going to be very, 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 very much a thriller. Because Cincinnati, last game against OU. Cincinnati's last game against OU, they lost 20-6. They had so many opportunities in the red zone to score. Emory Jones puts the ball in the paint, man. If they can score this game tomorrow, it's going to get very interesting, very high scoring. Now, BYU has Kedon Slovis. Yeah, Kedon. Pittsburgh transfer. The guy's been all around. Started at USC. The guy's been all around, okay? He's an experienced quarterback, so I can see a lot of points being scored in this game. A lot of points being scored in this game. Just because, you know, I think Cincinnati is going to come out with a sense of urgency to finish in the red zone. And I think BYU's at home. Big 12 game at home. This is their Big 12 opener at home. So I think they're going to be excited over there in the mountains, and I think it's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. But give me BYU at home on this one. I like BYU at home in the mountains. I'm telling you, when you go up to the mountains and try to play a sport, it gets real. Can you breathe? You know? Staying in the Big 12. Let's go with the ranked matchup, shall we? Let's go Texas versus Kansas. Now, this is going to be a very, very intriguing matchup. Because this is about discipline for Texas. And once again, what did I say week 5 is? Week 5 is staying alive, folks. And can Texas stay alive? Texas got OU next. The Red River rivalry is next week. And Texas put that thing on OU last year. I think OU is going to be thinking about that. I think they've been thinking about that all year. So is Texas disciplined enough to send a message through Kansas? Kansas is a ranked opponent. Kansas is trying to start 4-0 for the second straight season for the first time since 1915. Now listen to me. The last time Kansas started 4-0, I ain't going to say it, but you know where I'm going. And the funny thing is, the last time Kansas played at Texas, they won 57-56. Thriller. But I don't think this is last time. I think this is this time. And this time, I think Texas sends a message to OU through Kansas. I think Kansas may come out in the beginning, maybe swinging, but I think Texas, Sarkisian did what he was supposed to do at USC at Texas so far. He's bringing in recruits, and with NIL and transfer portals, this man might not be stopped. There might be one man and one man only that can stop him. Deion. But look, give me Texas in this one. Give me Texas in this one, all right? Staying in the Big 12, Baylor goes down to Florida, take on Gus Malzahn, and he's going to welcome them. It's going to be a good welcome. Now, Baylor's pretty bad this year, folks. The only reason why I got this game highlighted is because it's Gus Malzahn's home opener in the Big 12. Last week they lost 44-31. They don't have their quarterback. They do not have their quarterback. Once they get him back, and I think they might be kind of saving him for these next couple of games because they go at Kansas, at OU, West Virginia, and at Cincy. I think you want that veteran leadership of Plumlee. You want him on that road. So maybe you rest him this game. Honestly, why not? I don't know if Baylor's going to be able to handle that humidity and swamp ass down there. You know what I mean? I know Texas gets hot and humid, but that's different down there, folks. That's a different type of humidity. All right? It's different. Going from there, let's go to the ACC, man. All right? I'm going to the ACC. I'm going to talk about this Clemson game. I think we might be looking at the end of something here, folks. This is the first time we've seen a two-loss Clemson team since 2014. And their next game is Wake Forest, the University of Miami, North Carolina State, and Notre Dame. And, folks, I'm here to tell you they can lose two of those games. I know Notre Dame is going to beat them. I know Notre Dame is going to beat them. Miami's looking legit this year. It's looking like it could come down to that Miami-Florida State game of who's going to represent that side for the ACC championship. I think Clemson's in big trouble. I think Dabo's unwillingness to change with the times is going to cost him in the end. He's talked about NIL as if it doesn't exist, as if these kids don't even just think about this. That's a huge part of recruiting nowadays is NIL. And if you come out publicly and say, I don't believe in NIL, you're saying, well, I don't believe in paying you. That's interesting. That's very interesting. Clemson goes on the road to Syracuse. Now, Syracuse is doing good this year, 4-0. They like to run the football, man. They like to run their football. And they should. Sean Tucker, NFL rookie for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, alum of the school. They like to run the football. So I think this is going to be a low-scoring, grueling game. Like the Michigan-Nebraska game, I don't think it's going to be high-scoring. I think it's going to be a kind of a slugfest. Let's make this real grimy. Let's take the fly out of Clemson. If I'm Syracuse, I'm running the ball control. I'm stacking it. I'm running zone defenses, making them throw the ball underneath. Just so I can get this win. Show the world that you're for real, and that also, hey, Clemson's out of here, man. We're not going to take it anymore, man. We're just not going to take it. And to wrap it up, man, South Carolina versus Tennessee. Now, can South Carolina keep up with Tennessee's offense? Huh? This is going to be the interesting thing. And if they can, Spencer has to cut down on his turnovers. SEC title's on the line here, folks. The race for the East is on the line, especially if you're Tennessee. Can you dethrone Georgia? Because the last couple years, we've been waiting. This offense is fly. I like it. I'm not going to lie to you. It's fun. Heupel makes it look real fun out there. Joe Milton is just a bomb thrower. They got Texas A&M at Bama and at UK next. So these next two games, you want to get in your belt. You want to have these in your belt good to go, and no one can take them away from you. That's what you want, and we'll see. But I got Tennessee, but I do think this is going to be a lot. I think there's going to be some points scored in this one, folks. I think there's going to be quite a few. I think there's going to be quite a few points scored in this one, just because of how all these games are. How these games kind of play out. Especially when you start looking like when teams get up, they get kind of lax. Keep in mind, these aren't professional athletes. So when teams get up, some of these kids get laxed. You know what I mean? Oh, we're up, man. So that's how we're rolling tonight, man. We're going Utah, USC, Michigan, LSU, Notre Dame, Kentucky, Georgia, Tennessee, UCF, Syracuse, and BYU. Now let's do these whiteboard picks, man. Last week, I know what you're thinking. What was that? Well, it ain't my fault that Iowa couldn't cover. Oregon State didn't win on the road. Notre Dame lost at home because they wanted to play the game with 10 people. So, it's all right because here we are. And Ole Miss didn't cover either. But hey, I'm admitting my faults. I'm okay with that. Perfectly fine with that. So, give me Utah money line. I think USC covers. I think Nebraska covers versus Michigan. Give me LSU money line. Give me Notre Dame -7. Give me Florida money line. Georgia, I don't know the cover on that. What's the cover on that Georgia game? 14.5. I think Georgia's two touchdowns better than Auburn. BYU, Syracuse money line, UCF, and I think Tennessee in the overs. And those are my whiteboard picks. We'll see how we do this week. But as always, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Jigsaw Jimmy 17. We're going to do this every Friday. We're going to talk sports. Every Friday, we're going to talk college football. We'll get the picks. We'll get them in before Saturday. We'll upload it. We'll do the NFL. That one will be out. Fantasy football will be out on Sunday. And we're just going to talk sports, man. That guy Jig, I am him, JIG. And follow me at Jigsaw Jimmy 17. And let's do this together. Let's break the bank together. And we're going to talk sports. But this is That Guy Jig Sports Podcast. This is week 5. Stay alive. Peace.